Engaging the next generation and placing importance on the voice of younger, first-time voters. Barack Obama rode that wave to the White House in 2008 and again in 2012. And Bernie Sanders has made it a priority in 2016. But what about Republicans? Well, tonight we look at the impact GOP candidates are having on college voters. I recently visited High Point University and sat down with a group of students, both liberal and conservative, to watch the March 3rd GOP debate in Detroit, Michigan. 3 High Point students, Joe, Jessica, and Eric, volunteered to give us real-time reaction to the debate.
But he just 100% lost the vote after that.
And we got started just before the candidates took the stage with their expectations for the night.
I think it'll be interesting to see Rubio and Cruz position themselves as the anti-Trump candidate, and I look forward to see if Kasich will stand out more as compared to past debates.
You want to hear more substance on the issues as opposed to style of how they're debating and talking to each other?
The last debate was more insults and back and forth, so I would like to hear more issues and substance rather than singers.
Jessica, what are you hoping to hear tonight?
I hope to hear less insults, and like Eric said, I want to hear a lot more substance from the candidates, because right now I'm pretty undecided as to who I'm voting for, and I can't really make a decision unless they're actually going to tell me their policies. And it's been a lot of just attacking one another on the podiums, and especially from Trump. He's told us what he wants to do, hasn't told us how he's going to do it. But I just really want to hear what they're planning to actually do if they were to win.
And how important is their debate performance in you making up your mind, making your decision?
Pretty important, because from what I'm getting from a lot of the media outlets can be pretty biased, and I want to hear it straight from the candidate's mouth. So pretty important in my own decision, personally.
Joe, let me ask you the same question. What do you hope to hear tonight from the candidates?
Well, I'd like them to say something substantial and use facts to back up a lot of their claims, and I'd like a lot less of the infighting that goes on between them, where they're just hurling insults back and forth like what happened in the last debate. So I think it needs to be more productive than it has been.
It didn't take long, only a few minutes before the chaos began.
No, excuse me, I think I'm talking.
Hold on,
well, excuse me. I beat Hillary Clinton in...
Hold on.
All right, what do you think about that? Everybody talking at the same time.
Well, I think Cruz certainly gave the strongest answer on you can't just put your policies on a hat. You have to actually be a strong leader. And I think Rubio and Trump are still just, they're just going to be like this the whole debate.
This little guy has lied so much about my record.
There we go. The person.
He has lied.
When you see what happens again when you challenge him on a policy issue, you ask him the economy, and the first thing he does is launch an attack about some little guy thing, because he doesn't have answers.
Little Marco comment drew laughter. Why?
I think that it drew laughter just because we were all very confused as to what was actually going on. We were talking over each other, going back and forth and insulting one another, just taking away from the entire point of this debate.
Just for the record, I've won 10. He's won 3 or 4.
Yeah. Joe, your thoughts?
It's insane. I mean, okay, so Mitt Romney said, I want an answer with substance and not an insult, and Donald Trump immediately went into insulting Mitt Romney as a failed candidate. And then between Mitt Romney and Marco Rubio, they're already starting to exchange blows, so I feel like that's going to set the tone for the rest of this debate.
While Rubio and Trump went at it, it was another candidate who caught the eye of these 3 students.
I was there when Ronald Reagan rebuilt the military. I worked with him. I was there when Ronald Reagan rebuilt the economy. I was there, and I worked with him. I knew Ronald Reagan. And I'll leave it right there with what comes after that. You can figure that one out.
What Kasich just said seemed to be one of the biggest applause points of the night. Why do you think people were cheering for that?
I think that's exactly what people want to see. They want to see less fighting. They want to see more talk about substance, and I think that's what people have wanted this entire debate.
Why is there never enough of it?
What do you think?
I'm getting nothing out of the majority of the candidates, and Kasich seems to be the only person that's willing to have a policy debate, and the rest of them are simply insulting one another. And, I mean, Rubio and Trump really just need to, like Cruz said, count to 10 and calm down.
Count to 10, Donald. Count to 10. Count to 10.
I'm just not getting anything out of them, and the only person that I'm learning anything about is Kasich.
I think John Kasich has the most positive message of any of the 4 candidates there, and I think he talks with facts, and he's not belittling the other candidate. And I think his message that it's time for someone to bring together America is a strong one, and I believe in it. I don't necessarily think he's the right candidate to do that, but I think he's on the right track.
As for the issues, we asked the students if popular Republican issues like the Second Amendment resonated with them. any of this matter to you as college students? Second Amendment rights?
No, not really. They all sound very similar on the issue. They've all kind of repeated the same thing.
What about you?
It's pretty important to me. I'm a big contender for the Second Amendment, but they haven't really said anything that I'm super against or for. So at this point, I'm pretty okay with what's going on.
But the word of the night from our three students, substance. Bother any of you that they seem to cut off some candidates before they finish their thoughts, and others they seem to let go on and on and on when they don't even seem to be making a point? Start with Joe.
Absolutely, it bothers me. It seems like they're just putting on the candidates that are the most interesting or that the viewers want to see the most, like Donald Trump and Marco Rubio, to see them go back and forth, and they're ignoring people who would say substantial things.
By the end of the night...
And that'll do it for the 11th Republican primary debate of the 2016 presidential race.
Joe, Jessica, and Eric all agreed the night was entertaining.
Don't worry about it, little Marco.
But not necessarily informative. And as for the winner, let me catch you while it's fresh. First of all, Joe, who do you feel won the night tonight?
Out of these four candidates, personally, probably Kasich. I feel like his message was the most positive and backed by facts and reason, and it was less belittling of all the other candidates and more showing, hey, here's what I accomplished. This is why you should vote for me.
And what do you think may be the one point that people are talking about tomorrow, the one moment, the one issue, the one statement?
Probably the fighting between Donald Trump and Marco Rubio.
Jessica, let me ask you, who do you feel won this debate tonight?
I agree with Joe. I definitely think that Kasich won this debate tonight just because he was the only one out of the four that had anything substantial to say, the only one that I got a policy out of. The only thing that any of the other candidates seemed to talk about were the social issues of gun control and same-sex marriage, but Kasich really just shined for me. He didn't earn my vote necessarily, but he definitely won this debate for me.
Was there any one moment that will stand out for you?
I think that the only thing that really stood out was the fighting, just because it was so dramatic and so prominent throughout the entire debate.
And Eric, finally you. Who do you feel like won this debate?
I'd say either Kasich or Rubio won the debate. I think both of them pointed to their records, and both of them tried to cast themselves as the anti-Trump candidate.
And our three students were in the majority. Most of the room agreed John Kasich won that debate. But as recent results following that debate show us, winning a debate does not necessarily translate into winning a primary.